Here's my 2 cents review on House of Cards Season 2 on Netflix. Came out on Valentine's Day 2014 in a binge watch fashion. They just threw all the episodes out there. I just want to talk about that before I get to the review about the binge watch kind of society that we live in now. And I think it works to our benefit when in terms of these types of shows. And let me explain, because I believe that shows like this, like Mad Men, like Breaking Bad, like Sopranos of its day, are the novels of our time. So novels are kind of like, they're still around, but they're not as popular as they once were. And these kind of like really kind of rich television shows in its 13 chapter format, season by season, are the novels of today. It's like, this is our kind of like intellectual stimulation, as we call it, instead of reading a book. And what we do when we read a book is that we don't read a chapter on Sunday and then wait a week and read the next chapter. We will read a chapter, and we're so riveted what happened in that chapter, we want to read the next chapter as soon as possible. And that's what binge watching is all about. We watch an episode of House of Cards, and they know that too. We watch the first season. There's a really kind of like stunning moment that happens in the episode 1 of House of Cards, and you want to know what's going to happen next. And the same thing with Mad Men. And I also believe that I'm rewatching Mad Men season 6 in its binge watch fashion, and it's so much better to watch it that way, where you watch episode 1 of Mad Men and you have to wait a week to watch the next episode, and you kind of forget things along the way. You have a job, you have relationships, etc., and you have your own life that you're consuming, and then all of a sudden 6 days later you're watching another episodes and you almost forget half the things that you watched. But when you watch it in the binge watch fashion, it's better. It's almost like you're watching it's like a long movie that you're watching, which is so great. I loved House of Cards season 2. Thought it was terrific because it does what great storytelling does. The plotting and the mystery is there, and you want to know what's going to happen next, and that's what happens as well. Plus, from the first episode to the last episode, you already figured out, most of us have kind of figured out, that we know where this episode's going, like plot-wise. We know where he's going to end up. And the fun of watching the 13 episodes is trying to figure out how he gets to where he ends up. 2 plotting issues that I had an issue with, besides I think House of Cards season 2 is terrific, but 2 things that I'm just, because this is what I would do, is the rib guy. The rib guy's vetting process seems to become way too late. Like, this is the guy who met the president. He's with the vice president. Like, the Frank's administration, or even the president's administration, or even the journalists would have figured out, or even when they were doing an article about this guy, they would have vetted this guy and they would have seen who he was in the past. So it seems to come way too long down the road for it to be realistic in a sense, because there's no way that nobody would know this guy's past until way back in episode 7. And that's just one minor issue, and it's kind of a big plot point too for the season, so it doesn't make any sense. But there's a lot of great plot points happening. And the president as well. I thought the president was underwritten in this season 2, where you don't want to portray him as a patsy, but you want to portray him as a smart guy because he got where he was, but he's influential by his people, by Frank, by the billionaire. And they gave the rib guy his own episode, and I wish they kind of gave the president his own episode, so we had more of a backstory, more of an understanding what this made this guy tick, what this guy was all about. All we know about the president was kind of hearsay and like small conversations that he was in. And this is the most important character besides Frank of season 2. And it seemed like he was a little bit underwritten. And if they gave him more substance, the explosion and the ending would have been a lot more impactful, and Frank's overall arc would have been a lot more impactful at all. I love to talk to the creator about this, why they kind of underwritten in the future, about why they underwritten the president in season 2, because it didn't seem to make too much sense. And you kind of had to I know this is a fun show and it's supposed to be entertaining, and probably people who are smarter than me or more political savvy than me can look into the show and give all the things that make zero sense. And I understand that, but just from a plotting standpoint and from like an entertainment standpoint, plotting wise, I always thought the president should have been a little bit written more clearly. That's my 2 cents. Love the season. Can't wait for season 3.